around him. Fox Bet Sportsbook has set the odds on Deshaun's team for next season. The Texans are still favored, followed by the Broncos, Panthers, Dolphins, and Jets. So, LeVar, should Deshaun Watson be okay with a trade to a team like the Jets that won't have many weapons around him?
You know what, Joy? I think it's more so about the deterioration of the relationship between Deshaun Watson and how he feels about the Houston Texans. So in most cases, when a player feels the way that they feel, where they're backed into a corner and they don't feel like they have very many real options where they're at, yes, you go to a place like the Jets. Yes, you go somewhere else with the thought process of having a clean start. They got to figure that out. The New York Jets have to figure that out, Joy, not Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has to go somewhere and try to get some success, have some peace of mind where it is that he goes to play. And the New York Jets organization, if they make this trade, perceivably, they have to figure out how to build this team. Now, they have not shown the ability to build a winner. And that would be the biggest concern. If I'm Deshaun Watson saying I want to leave because of the way things are being ran and that we can't win here in Houston, then you should have a problem going to another team that is showing the same type of failures that the one that you're currently on, or we'll be hearing that Deshaun Watson wants another trade after a year or two in New York. So I think he's okay with getting away from Houston right now. And the Jets would have to show that they're able to figure out how to handle the cap issues and building their roster.
Yeah, look, I would like to see Deshaun in New York from a storyline standpoint. I mean, it's a delicious story. It's a sexy story. The great Deshaun Watson comes to New York to rescue the Jets finally. Maybe they can finally get a quarterback to lead them to a Super Bowl since Joe Namath. And Joe Douglas, you know, the jury's still out on him as the GM. He didn't sign Adam Gase. He didn't, hire him as the coach. He was there after Gase. So let's let Joe Douglas, maybe he is a good GM. And Robert Saleh, obviously all his ex-players swear by him. So it seems like that's a good situation. But obviously there's a lot to build around him. Here's the problem with New York. And I've been a part of the New York City media. Everything is magnified in New York. If
Big
you
time.
do well
Yes,
there,
sir.
oh yeah, it's going to be great, right? If he doesn't even have to win a Super Bowl. If he gets them to the Super Bowl or makes them a perennial contender, he will be glorified. But if they struggle, and it might not even be his fault, but if they don't win, if he can't lift them out of the doldrums, then it will be magnified to the negative. That's something for him to think about. So from Deshaun's perspective, I would rather go to San Francisco. I would rather go to Miami if I'm him. I wouldn't want to go to Carolina. There's talk about them, wanting him too. And obviously, that's not a great situation, especially if they give up McCaffrey and all these picks that they're talking about. But Deshaun needs to he's got the no trade clause, so he's got a lot of power. So he needs to utilize it in the right way, Greg.
Yeah, LeVar, I'm with you 100%. It is not about what a team doesn't have as far as support. And yes, every player wants to win, but every player wants to be in a situation where they feel like they can be respected and they can respect who's running the situation. And that is what's not happening in Houston. Deshaun Watson is unhappy. And when you're unhappy, you are better moving on. You don't care what the situation looks like. You just want to get out of your current state. And that's where Deshaun Jackson is. Yes, does he want to win? Every player in the National Football League, every competitor wants to win. But every competitor also wants to be in a situation where they can have fun, where they can enjoy getting up, going to work every day. And I'll say this, with Robert Saleh being the head coach now in New York and bringing over Matt LaFleur, or not Matt, I think it's Matt LaFleur, for his offensive coordinator, he's been under the tutelage of Kyle Shanahan. He would love to be in the room striking up some plays, brewing up some schemes with Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson the same. So to your point, LeVar, he doesn't care about the personnel. That is not his responsibility. The Jets didn't say he would have an input if that's where he is. But the Houston Texans told him he would have some say. They told him that they would converse with as far as the general manager and the head coach. None of that happened. I got to go. You took away D-Hop. Your J.J. Watt is no longer gone. So I don't have a reason to really stick around and say, you know what, I want to win it for this guy or I want to win it for this city. No, this city has been good, but you in management have not been good to me and have not respected me.
Totally agree, Greg. He's got to go all the way down to the 305. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins.
Geez.
Go to the Dolphins, Deshaun.
Gosh.
Go. You got Brian Flores. All right. You got the 6th-ranked defense. They have 1 million draft picks. They don't have to give anything up. They can send Tua and draft picks to Houston. They're going to work on their offensive line over the offseason. It's a great situation. Yeah. The Dolphins are the only team on this list of teams that had a winning season last year. By many games, actually, when you look at the rest of the teams on this list. They're the only team that has an established culture on this list. Now, obviously, there's some other options out there. You mentioned the 49ers. I don't really think that they're going to move on from Jimmy G, but I think that would be a great situation for him. But why would you leave a dysfunctional situation to then go to an unknown like the Jets? It doesn't make any sense to me. I like Robert Saleh. They have a lot of draft picks. It's all upside, but we have no idea what they're going to be. We don't know what Matt Rule is with the Panthers, and then you've got Tom Brady in that division. You got the Broncos. You got to play Mahomes. I think that this makes the most sense to go to Miami. But either way, I just love that we are all on the same page, that we have to protect Deshaun Watson at all costs.
You know what's interesting? Joy left out going to the Jason Taylor Manor on the beach to be able to have a barbecue to make sure you solidify the deal to come to the Miami Dolphins.
You're definitely welcome.
I don't know if this is tampering.
For a barbecue, Deshaun.
Hey, Deshaun, NFL, I don't know if this is tampering, but I think that Jason Taylor has clearly given his sister directives in terms of how to handle things on the show today about getting into Miami.
I speak for myself.
If we're talking about where you're going to go, I'm not upset about what the Jets are trying to do. I like the coaching move. I like what they're trying to build. But like you said, Joy, this is relatively unknown, and it's an unknown connected to a failing operation in New York right now. And like you said, Chris, that media market is, it is, it's amazing. I went there for a year. And let me tell you something, within 6 to 7 months time of being there, you start to realize the power of how strong media markets are. The number 1, the number 2 media markets are. I like San Francisco. It's a nice market. It's a large market. Kyle Shanahan knows how to leverage that running attack like his dad did. And they dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Right now, I don't know who they lose. I heard they do the trade. They lose Bosa and a couple other guys. I mean, if you lose Garoppolo, obviously that doesn't matter. But you look at the way Kyle Shanahan runs that offense with the balance of the run scheme, culminating how you're able to throw the ball and create those opens on the field, those windows of opportunity to throw in. Greg, you're a receiver. You know this. A guy like Kyle Shanahan who can keep you off balance as a defense because of how well they can move the ball on the ground always gives a quarterback and receivers the opportunity to create that space, to have that separation against the defenses. To me, if I'm Deshaun Watson, that's super attractive, knowing that there may be one player that was injured away from being that team that made it to the Super Bowl not too long ago.
Yeah, I like the San Francisco 49ers, and obviously that would be a great fit. And that's Mike LaFleur, not Matt LaFleur, that's with the Jets now. But for me, even though San Francisco would be the ideal situation, I like the Chicago Bears or the Minnesota Vikings. I know he put out there that he wouldn't he wouldn't allow for his he would put in effect his no trade clause, like, I don't want to go to the Vikings. But the Bears are a suitable team. They have a good defense. They haven't had a quarterback in years. They never had a quarterback. Let's just face it. It's the Bears. But for Deshaun Watson to get into that offense and to try to make some magic in that NFC North up against an Aaron Rodgers, I like that situation better than a lot of other situations. Now, no, LeVar, to your point, the San Francisco situation is by far the best. But I don't know if that
Miami's
happens.
Good too.
For Deshaun, it would be for me to get to the NFC and try to make some hay there, Chris.
I like the weather in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, but San Francisco to Bay, that would be the greatest opportunity for Deshaun for certain.
Well, we're heading back to the NBA. How did Kyrie and Harden take down the King last night in LA? Next on First Things First.